Al-Salani has the floor.
Tanzania is not aftermath after elections, but a national tragedy. On 29th of October, President Samia Suluhu Hassan crowned herself with a victory of 97% of the votes after silencing the very people who challenged her. And when citizens rose up, especially the young, they were met with bullets, brutality, and a blockade on truth. Hundreds killed, hundreds injured, hundreds arrested, entire country living in fear. Let us say his name clearly. Tundu Lissu, the opposition leader charged with treason, locked away simply because he exercised his democratic right to run for elections. And his imprisonment is a broader assault on democracy in Tanzania that is taking away all the promises to the Tanzanian people of their freedom. And to the Tanzanian people, we have heard you. We are on your side. This House has chosen to stand by you. Thank you.
Chair, dear colleagues, months ago I stood here calling on the authorities of Tanzania to release all political prisoners, and today that call is more urgent than ever. Tanzania is showing a deeply troubling pattern of repression and abuse. Critics, like opposition leaders, journalists and activists, face threats, arbitrary arrests, extrajudicial killings and forced disappearances. The government is shutting down free media and taking away people's basic rights to speak, gather and move. Human rights defenders are in grave danger. The cases of Agathar Atuir and Boniface Mwangi, who came from Uganda and Kenya to observe the trial of Tundu Lissu, prove it. They were arrested and allegedly beaten and tortured by members of the army, and their story demands urgent accountability and justice. The October elections further exposed the scale of repression. Voters were denied a real choice and security forces used deadly force against protesters. Today, I urge again the authorities in Tanzania to release Tundu Lissu and investigate disappearances of government critics, including that of Humphrey Polepole. Colleagues, we all care about human rights in Tanzania, so we need to do more. Beyond raising these issues at the highest level, the EU must also establish long-term support for human rights defenders and journalists, and ensure that our systems allow those most at risk to relocate and find legal pathways for asylum. Our actions, not only our words, must match the needs of the people of Tanzania. Thank you very much.
What happened before, during and after the elections in Tanzania was regrettably no surprise. This was not an irregularity, but the systematic destruction of democratic competition. These elections were marred by state-sponsored political repression, targeted abductions and manipulation. The outcome was decided well before the 29th of October. It began with the suffocation of civic space and the silencing of free media. It continued with the banning of political assemblies and opposition parties, and it became undeniable with the imprisonment of nearly every leading opposition representative, above all the leader of Chadema, Mr. Tundu Lissu. For nearly 250 days, my personal friend Tundu Lissu has endured solitary confinement, possibly facing a death sentence simply for demanding free and fair elections. But this is not just about one individual fate. This is the textbook example of how an authoritarian regime weaponizes the law to eliminate its opponents. On election day and the hours that followed, the regime showed its true colors when the internet was shut down, when protesters were beaten, shot, abducted and jailed. Madam Commissioner, I call on the European Commission and I call on the European External Action Service not to slip back into business as usual. I will spare you the diplomatic language used in recent statements, but the tone was certainly not as clear as it should have been. Tanzania's continued pivot from the rule of law, reform and good governance demands a genuine assessment of our bilateral relationship. Colleagues, if we truly stand for democracy and human rights, we cannot stop at words. Let us use every tool at our disposal to hold those in power accountable. Tomorrow, this House will send an unmistakable message. All EU funds channeled through state-controlled entities must be frozen immediately. The European Union must not use its fund to subsidize oppression. The time to act is now. All political prisoners must be released immediately and with no conditions. Urgently required is an independent and credible investigation into all killings, abductions and enforced disappearances. The great people of Tanzania, they deserve new, free and credible elections. Thank you, and free Tundu Lissu now.